Chiefs Kingdom, welcome in to the AP breakdown. Welcome back. Chiefs are 4-0, so it's always a good time. All positive vibes here, right, Caleb? There's no we're not thinking about the injuries here tonight, although we will get into that. Ron Kopp Jr. at Ron_Kopp on Twitter. Caleb James at CJ Scoobs on Twitter. Arrowheadpride.com film analyst coming to you to look at the Chiefs win over the Chargers. Again, definitely some unfortunate news out of that, but we're gonna look at what the Chiefs did well, what the Chiefs executed at, and so yeah, how you feeling? 4-0 going into Monday night. Got a big Saints matchup coming up, but how you feeling overall about the team?
Could be a lot worse off. They've looked pretty rough at times, but they have been answering the bell. It's been very ugly. Hasn't been a lot of points. You could say positively, though, the defense has stepped up and done their job. I'd like to see more from the offense. Obviously, just waiting to see what's going to happen with the Rashee Rice injury. That was the massive blow to already banged up offensive unit, but I mean, you do have to take a look, now the team's really got to hone in on what they have and try to just do well at it, do well with what
Yeah,
they got.
yeah, and your topic is going to lead us off today because it does get into kind of playing off of Rashee's injury, and make sure you're following arrowheadpride.com for the latest updates on that. But yeah, the Chiefs offense has to adjust a little bit, right? They've been successful on the ground game to an extent, just keeping ahead of the chains. Maybe not the explosive runs, but yeah, I think we kind of saw that on Sunday. So yeah, why don't we talk about the Chiefs' run game?
Yeah, let's get into it a little bit. And Kareem Hunt's debut back. Let's start out real quick before we get into this. So Carson Steele started the game at running back. He had a few carries, bad fumble the first drive of the game, not a good fumble. Like it wasn't like I'm going to the ground and it gets punched out like some freak play. It was the exact same way he got like stripped in the first game or in the second game of the year against Cincinnati, just running and they just strip it out of his hands. I think he played maybe 2 or 3 more snaps. He only had like 4 touches on the day. They inserted Kareem Hunt, and you kind of remember a little bit who Kareem Hunt is and what he does. And, just starting out, just taking a look at just some of these looks they gave him. They ran these zone looks. They gave him some like delayed handoff stuff. This is just a little bit of this is zone look with a big on big backside from Jawan Taylor, the right tackle, just the offset look. But initially you see this big hole because you come out here back to the front of the play and they've got like this big loose box with only one linebacker in it. So pretty easy work for Trey Smith to move the defensive tackle over. Creed Humphrey's trying to work an angle, but Hunt just takes the space and breaks one arm tackle. Does a real nice job to spin off of that there. And just like that, he's back. I don't think he's got quite the same explosion. I think we could take a look at his film in Cleveland last year and also, make that assumption that he doesn't have quite the same explosion that he did, back some time ago. But what is he good at? Where was he good at in Cleveland? He's a short yardage guy. He was excellent in short yardage in Cleveland. The Chiefs have been one of the best short yardage running teams in the NFL, not just because of Hunt. I'll get into maybe another clip here in a second with old P. Ryan. But here they line him up just in the offset look, 3-eye or a 3-point stance. Really good double team here from Jawan Taylor and Trey Smith. They just blast 90 out of the way. Kelsey doesn't get a ton there, but Hunt does get just enough, and he makes sure he falls forward for the first down. The Chiefs' offensive line, I thought they had another good game, or run blocking. I thought they had an overall solid performance in general, but we'll keep rolling through some of these.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the Chiefs, again, I think I said this last week, but they still lead the NFL in success rate. And again, that just means first down, they're getting, more than 5 yards. Second down, they're getting close to the sticks. Third down, they're converting. So, yeah, I think this offensive line is the big reason for that, I'd say.
And again, here, this is a second and long situation, but the Chiefs run this little draw. Again, you see the motion over, kind of loosens up the box a little bit, the way the Chiefs want it to. Wide defensive ends. I think they got the double 3-techs going. Big void opens up. Good work by Tooney and Morris to really sell the pass here. Creed does a great job of getting up to 0, and Hunt just takes off and hits the hole. he was running violently. He wasn't like just going and running and going down on the first contact. Like there's sometimes you see Isaiah Pacheco, like you say he runs angry because he's slamming his feet into the ground and just running into everyone he sees. Kareem Hunt runs more violently, where like he's going to try to be the aggressor when the contact is made. He's not going to be the guy going down. He's going to be the guy falling forward, kind of like how he did there.
I was just going to bring up the fact that, you mentioned that, kind of the defense spreading out, giving them that light box look. I found this interesting. The Chiefs are facing stacked boxes at the 4th lowest rate in the NFL this year. So, these running backs are going to have opportunities to get into open space. We know that, right? Obviously, Rashee Rice's injury impacts that a little bit, right? Defenses may be able to feel like they can put someone else closer to the line of scrimmage. But at the same time, dude, Xavier Worthy is still, always going to have that threat and always going to, force defenses to play a little light. So I think the run game is still going to be in a good situations even without Rashee. I don't know if you agree on that.
I think they'll be fine. And I think, honestly, after the big bomb to Worthy, the running game opened up even more because they got worried again. Hunt still got good vision, though. Like, Hunt always had good vision. I think he had a good ability of when to bounce, when to just take what he can get. And this is a good situation for him to bounce here because you got Hall of Fame guy Khalil Mack coming off the edge. You got Joe Thuney, one of the best guards in football. They meet, not a ton of movement created along the inside here. He kind of logs out. But you see Hunt is smart enough to know instead of just plugging his head down, putting his head down and grinding it out, he decides to bounce it. And he actually makes a good read on this to bounce it because these defenders are all slightly out of position. And he's got a little bit of help from his guy Juju downfield as well. Kelsey gets just enough there, but these guys are out of position. So it opens up a nice hole. Juju gets a good block there, actually, to help spring him. They're going to need Juju to step up big now. I mean, he is older. He has had injury issues himself, but you just know he's going to be a guy the Chiefs are going to lean on with Rashee Rice possibly injured, but just still are good and another physical finish to the run there by Hunt.
Yeah, no, I was kind of saying before the season, like, if Rashee got suspended, like Juju would kind of, I know Juju's not the same athlete that he used to be, but he does kind of fit that same power slot role to an extent. Not the same yak ability, of course. But honestly, blocking, Rashee was that bigger presence in the slot. They could trust him to come chip or kind of block on some stuff. So, yeah, I think Juju can help with that, definitely.
They tried to get Kareem in the end zone, man. They really did try to get him in.
I had an anytime touchdown bet, man. I was pretty salty he didn't get in there. He was salty too. Did you see that? Did you see that video? Him and P. Ryan were laughing on the sideline. He wanted that.
He gets real close here, man. I mean, you just take a look. They run the little shovel, and then they just go to the power draw. Also, look at this double team block from Wanya Morris and Joe Thuney. 95 just gets dislodged from the play, and then Wanya gets up to 43. I mean, it don't get any better than that. You got Trey Smith blasting too. Big hole opens up, and then Kareem just loses his footing a little bit there, but yeah, hard to get too mad about that. The Browns didn't use him a lot in the passing game this last season. The Chiefs, he got 2 receptions. This was one of them, but they did look to him a little bit. I want to see him back in the passing game. I don't know why the Browns didn't use him. I think it's just a role thing. They had him being like their big bruiser out there, but I'd like to see him get back involved. And we'll go ahead and throw in a little bit of P. Ryan here just because I am a fan of P. Ryan. I loved this run because it looks like he should be stuffed in the backfield. And somehow, the Chiefs are just going to come out and they do run just a power look. Joe Thuney is pulling around and there's nothing happening, right? Just a big, massive pile. But P. Ryan, keep track of his helmet because you're starting to see the momentum is shifting. The Chargers do have him initially stood up, but the Chiefs' offensive line is kind of working their way back behind him, and they just get enough, and P. Ryan somehow just keeps those feet driving. He's one of the best I think the Chiefs have had in a while. It just, if there's nothing there, he just gets in there, and he fits so well with the offensive line with how they'll get behind him and push the pile. He's so good at that just with his lower body strength and leg drive, but this is where he's been very efficient. Like you see P. Ryan's yards per carry is only like 3.5 yards. You're like, so what's that all about? Well, he's taken a lot of third down reps and third and short, goal line situations like this. I mean, I think right now, if you look at the Chiefs running back room, I think it probably goes easily. I think you have to go Kareem Hunt. I think you have getting those notifications from Sports Center there. I think you've got to go Kareem Hunt. I think you've got to go, you know, uh, Samaj P. Ryan and then Carson Steele after that. I don't think that we've seen anything. I think that P. Ryan's still just getting his feet wet in the offense for what he's going to do. I think Hunt, they've obviously limited his snaps. And for Steele, it's hard, but you've noticed now early there's a theme. They did not hesitate to pull Kingsley, and I don't think we're going to see much of Kingsley again this year. I think Wanya Morris is going to be fine. They did not hesitate to pull Carson Steele either. I think that's going to be a consistent theme of this season for the Chiefs is they are not going to let there be much margin for error. They let there be a margin for error last season for players like Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, even Sky Moore this week after the drop. They yanked him. So I think they realize that they have to tighten up. There isn't quite as margin of error. You don't have Pacheco. You don't have Hollywood. And now you're going to be without Rashee Rice for an extended period of time. They can't afford to make these like little mistakes like that. So, are they going to – I think they're going to have to lean on the run a little bit, but I think they're equipped to do it if they need to.
Yeah, no, and that's where we can, before we get into the defense, just talk about how the offense could adjust moving forward. I mean, they have the tight ends. Noah Gray's a reliable receiver. Do we see more 12 personnel? Do we see more creativity with the run game? The only thing is they just don't really – the run game may still be pretty just power traditional because they don't have like that speed back. They really – it is all just guys, with good power. I agree with you on Kareem Hunt. Get him into open space a little more sometimes because he has that contact balance, I think, still. I mean, Saponish Pirine has it a little bit too, but I think Kareem is still a little more, quick than Pirine is even, I would say. So, yeah, no, I mean, do you see the Chiefs kind of going more towards, I mean, they will break out those 12, 13 personnel packages, but it might just become more of a feature part of their offense, maybe putting Gray in instead of having that third receiver. What do you think about that?
I think it's either going to be that. I think they're going to have to mix up how they do it, though. I think we saw a little bit early on, like those full house formations where they had the, Kelsey and Gray both in the backfield.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. I think they can get away with that and running it. I think they'll be able to run it with some guys on the line. But, it is going to be important. Xavier Worthy might not have a deep touchdown every game, but he's going to threaten a deep touchdown every game.
Right.
And as long as they're consistently pulling it off and those kinds of plays aren't just like once or twice a season, then that threat is going to be there. If you can do it once every 3 weeks, then you are going to open up the field by doing that stuff. And gosh, it was fun seeing that kind of stuff again almost.
Yeah, and again, like you mentioned, the threat's always there. But this adjustment is not just an offensive thing. It's an entire team thing because this team's going to just have to become kind of be able to, not turn the ball over, grind out these games maybe. And that starts with the defense too, right? The defense, I think we've all seen, these 4 games last year. They've kind of gotten equipped to, be relied on in that way, kind of win the games for the Chiefs. And man, I just feel like without Rice, without Pacheco, without Hall, it's just going to have to be a lot more on the defense, even more than it was at times last season, just because Rice was a spark plug for the offense still last season, even younger in his career. But it starts with the defense, and that's where on Sunday it was an impressive performance, I would say, from just the overall defense, stuff in the run, obviously playing really well on first and second down to get to those third and longs. And that's the theme of what I'm going to break down today. Just, the Chiefs need to get to third and long to be the most effective as a defensive unit. Obviously every defense can say that, but the Chiefs, when you get to those obvious pass downs, that's where Chris Jones moves around the formation. That's where Spags can really get creative with, okay, I'm going to show this blitz, but we're also going to drop into this coverage. You can't necessarily do all those things when it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5. They can run the ball. There's just little less margin for error because the sticks are right there. So you can't maybe get too creative on those 3rd and longs, man. You can be a little more drawn out with your fake blitzing, where you're going with coverage, rotating late, because you have the time. The quarterback does have to find time and make the play. And so, again, on Sunday, it started with the Chiefs just being stout up front. I could have, shown a bunch of plays, but I just kind of highlighted a few from George here at first. Because George, man, he's had an underrated season. He hasn't necessarily had the stats maybe, but this game kind of showed that he is just a force and just, a wrecking ball. This play, he takes out both the tight end trying to block him and the pulling guard and just completely blows up this play, just bench presses him into the guard and puts both guys on the ground. Yeah, that's George making that play. Similar play here where he takes on the puller, just swims him, gets right past him, right there. That puller's trying to kick him out, right? He's trying to be the kick out block. He's trying to open this up, and kind of pin, Karlaftis to the outside. And Karlaftis he's just right there to swim it, be in there. But even then, not on a rundown with Karlaftis, just overwhelming here. The backup right tackle, Trey Pipkins, just putting him right into his lap. Karlaftis, showing that power, showing that strength. Big reason why the run defense, on early downs has been stout, has been holding, opposing backs, number one backs to, I think it was 2.7 yards per carry before last game, and they held Dobbins about 2.4. So math nerds can do the extrapolation there. But it is also about the off-ball defenders, man. These cornerbacks, just like last year, everyone knows, it's not a secret, but these guys really get it done, get into the backfield, make plays. I'm just realizing I didn't include Jalen Watson's clip in this bunch, but they're just sure tacklers. Connor has actually had probably the most missed tackles on the team this year, but that's really an open space when you are asking him to be this kind of nickel defender where he can come in the box, be that third linebacker technically, that seventh defender in the box. It just opens up for him right here. Good form tackle. Boom. He's on the ground. McDuffie here does it late as well, where he's just no fear, so quick into the backfield and just wraps it up, sure tackler. And again, I forgot to include Jalen Watson on a 3rd and 1 earlier in the game, shooting off the edge, coming from the backside of the run, getting the tackle to get a stop and force a punt. The Chiefs' off-ball defenders, the corners, the safeties are just as important to the run game as some of the on-ball, the trenches defenders. So that was the setup, right? That was the first downs, the rundowns, getting the Chargers to get to those 3rd and longs. And again, that's where Spags can get at his most creative. But this is honestly a pretty good example of why Spags does need talent, does need guys like a McDuffie who is just so instinctual coming after the quarterback, from the slot when he's blitzing, times it up so well, so fast to the quarterback. It's important because Spags, if he can be crazy with his play calling, but that lead, it's risky, right? And the players need to be able to execute the play to not allow big plays to happen. Like if McDuffie doesn't get here in time and somehow gets held up or just kind of, maybe doesn't come, doesn't sneak up to the line at first, Herbert could have the time to watch, and then boom, this dude's coming right up the seam. There's no safety over the top. They're playing pretty much a cover zero look with some doubles. That's where the talent shows up, right? Like Spags can call this blitz, but if someone's slow, if someone somehow gets hung up, this could have been a 98-yard touchdown, and we're all, being like, dang, they beat the blitz. But it's so well designed too. You're going to see the Chiefs attack, that gap with one or two blitzers, right? And so there's only so many blockers they can send to it. Bolton lines up on the left side. Wharton's on the left side, but Wharton's going to cross over. That wastes this blocker right here. He thinks he has to help over here, but these guys drop out, right? And you're going to see that. I have another play later to show that, but yeah, no, I think Spags just gets creative. And he can because he has the talent to do so. It takes McDuffie. It takes guys timing it up, running it well, showing the blitz strong enough, and executing the blitz. Here's another example. Drew Tranquil, at one point in the game later, I think this is the 2nd down on the last drive for the Chargers before the 3rd down stop. This is just an awesome move. He's coming out against the left tackle. The left tackle may have a little indecision because he does have a blitzer coming from over here. But Drew Tranquil just leaves him in the dust. Just a nice little move, jab step, and then comes inside. Doesn't even get touched. And it just blows up this play, right? This play could have been completed. This actually was probably pretty easy completion. and could have been for some big yards because there is a blocker right there to get on Leo Chenal, and there's blockers out in front. But Drew Tranquil just getting in the backfield so quickly, allowing them to blow this play up. Because again, it's a screenplay against the blitz. That's what you want if you're the Chargers. You're wanting them to blitz. You're wanting to beat them with the screen. And the Chiefs just make them pay by executing the blitz so well. And so yeah, that's where it really, is just kind of, it's just important. The 1st and 10 runs, like, run defense, it can sound overrated or, like, hey, like as long as you're not limiting, you're not allowing explosive runs, but it's important to get negative plays on those 1st and down runs so you can get the 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10. I'm going to allow Chris Jones to do his thing. Well, before I move on, Caleb, I don't know, any thoughts on how the Chiefs linebackers played, how they have been playing, kind of just the front 7 in general against the run. I mean, it is pretty impressive, this stretch they're putting together. And, I mean, they're committing to it, but, it's not like they aren't playing the pass well too.
Yeah, and this week, I think having the Chargers tackles out, that definitely helped out some to an extent, but still, I mean, you look at how J.K. Dobbins looked the first couple of weeks of the season versus what the Chiefs did to him. It's like night and day. And the Chargers, obviously, with Harbaugh, they want to put a big emphasis on running the ball. But I thought that both Bolton and Tranquil both stepped up and played good football the last couple of weeks, which they hadn't really played their best football the first couple of weeks of the season, but I think they're both starting to hit their groove now. I think Tranquil led the team in tackles during the game, and I think Bolton also looked pretty solid. I think they can still get a little bit better. I've still been impressed with what Leo Chenal has been able to do. He's he's a very violent attacker. And the defensive line, they're stepping up big. Probably no one's stepping up bigger than Chris Jones, but give credit to the other guys like Mike Pennell, Wharton especially, and Pennell just in there doing what they can to stuff the run. So, I mean, that's back-to-back weeks now. You're stuffing some pretty good rushing attacks.
No, absolutely. And you mentioned the Chargers offensive tackle injuries. I mean, they're facing a Saints offensive line that's banged up as well. Right guard Cesar Ruiz did not practice on Thursday, hasn't played since the beginning of week 3, got hurt in week 3. The center, they've lost Eric McCoy, their center, earlier this season, and their backup center is even on the injury report. And you're talking about having a rookie left tackle as well, Talise Fuaga, who I think we both liked. He was going to be a good player in the NFL, we thought. But left tackle, as a rookie, we'll see how he handles maybe a Chris Jones on a 3rd down. And so you mentioned Turk Wharton, though. Very underrated impact player this year. One of the highest pressure rates in the NFL this season, especially from the interior. And he's just been impactful. And honestly, this was back-to-back plays late in the game when the Chiefs needed some pressure. The Chiefs needed to stop. This is on 2nd down. Turk Wharton just goes right through Zion Johnson, last year's 1st-round pick. Pretty good player, pretty good guard. This should have probably been a completion. But that's beside the fact. Turk Wharton gets to Herbert, makes him go out of the pocket. That's all you can ask for in a pass rush a lot of the times. And again, how does he get that one-on-one? Where does the center go? Immediately at the snap. Chris Jones, that's how Chris Jones affects the game, allows Turk Wharton to get those one-on-ones and eat against them. And he has been this year, man. Turk Wharton really has stepped up this year. Here's another example, same thing. Again, this is the next play, the next snaps. This is back-to-back snaps. Turk Wharton blows it up, one-on-one, bull rushes him right into Herbert's lap, makes him trip up, causes the awkward throw. And again, where does the center go? To the left. He knows Jones may be coming across. He knows Jones may be looping around, or something's going on where he wants to pay attention to Jones over here. Doesn't even give Turk a second thought, even though when you look at who the 2 interior rushers are, Felix or Turk Wharton, got to imagine you'd want to maybe have some help on Turk more than Felix. But again, it's not Felix. It's Chris Jones. This center knows Chris Jones is over there lurking. He doesn't want to get caught, sleeping, letting Chris Jones come through the middle and blow up Herbert, even though, Jones obviously isn't the fastest dude to loop around. That's just the kind of presence he has. But again, just opens up one-on-one opportunities for Turk. Just nice little, comes out of his stance, right? Kind of gives him a little shake like, oh, what am I going to do? Boom, into the power. Nice play. Any comment there?
Dude, and mind you, this is why are we starting to see maybe Turk starting to flash or stand out? This is only his 4th year of playing defensive tackle. maybe people don't know this. When he was in high school, he was recruited to Missouri S&T as a linebacker. His first 2 or 3 seasons at S&T, he played linebacker primarily. And then his last season there, he was more of like a 3-4 walk up defensive end, outside linebacker type. Really didn't play a ton with his hand in the dirt. His first year of playing with his hand in the dirt was 2020. And there were times early on he did look impressive, but it was clear he was just out athleting people. Now you're starting to see all the technique and experience he's gained through having these reps as a defensive tackle are all starting to shine, and now he's becoming this really, really helpful and impactful defensive lineman. You can line up opposite of Chris Jones, which is especially helpful with the injury to Omenahue and the injury to Mike Dana. Mike Dana being out this week was big, and we didn't even talk about that, because you'd figure a guy like Dana, this would be a big week for him, run down team who you think you can get inside pressure on, that would have been a big help. But Wharton did a fantastic job. I think, this is probably his career season he's going to have.
Yeah, no, it already has been. No, he really has had a really impactful year. The pressures so far have been, again, I wish I could cite the stat for y'all right now. I don't have it in front of me, but I cited on the podcast last week. Make sure you go listen to the AP Mailbag Show every Friday on the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network. But he was number one in a pressure rate that kind of took out any kind of, pass, any dropbacks, I should say, that weren't like true dropbacks, right? Like a screen or maybe play action or bootleg. It was something where it was quality pressures, right? It was true pass rush snaps. And he was actually number one going into week 4 in the entire NFL. Just kind of shows you what he's been doing at a rate basis this year. And then again, I didn't have this plan to show, but this just kind of shows you what he can do on rundowns too, just how explosive he is, and how that affects the run games, right? So Zion Johnson, again, they're going to try to trap him. He's a 3 tech. They're going to try to trap him. 77 is going to come across, try to dig him out, but they slant at the snap, right? They slant in. And so Wharton's kind of in that way. But again, he jumps out so fast and gets blocked, but he keeps his head up, redirects, sheds, and gets in on the tackle still. That's just the kind of thing he can do. You mentioned the linebacker background. He is just so quick, so athletic inside. And he's gotten he's gotten more weight to him as he's grown in the NFL, where I think, now he's just playing with more power as well. But Chris Jones, we talked about him making an impact on those other plays, but these were the plays that he got those sacks, both 3rd and long again, right? So when Chris Jones is at his best, it's 3rd and long, and that's why they need to continue to do their best to get to those 3rd and longs. And man, when he gets to 3rd and long, I mean, this is just unfair. So first of all, Chargers do try to give the left tackle help, right? We're going to put a tight end over here, but the Chiefs just say, well, hey, we'll just widen our alignment, right? Chris Jones is still the interior rusher here, but he is lined up as an edge rusher over the tackle. Felix Anudike-Uzomah is even wider over the tight end, or on the tight end's outside shoulder. So the tight end has to account for Felix. He can't just let him go. He has to, come off on him. And it just sets up Chris Jones for a one-on-one around the outside. Obviously, the guard can only do so much if Chris is going around the outside. And honestly, you're going to see the jump here. I want to kind of back it up. He's just so fast off the ball. I mean, Felix, first of all, I think he is supposed to come, he kind of is, not necessarily worried about firing off the ball in this rush, right? So, not necessarily negative on him, but just how fast Chris Jones is off the ball compared to the offensive lineman, and how fast he is around the edge, just beats him like it's nothing, and gets that sack on Justin Herbert. And then there was the second sack to win the game, or seal the game, I should say, pretty much. And again, you're going to have a tight end out here. He's supposed to be helping the right tackle, right? He's supposed to be helping what's going on. The right tackle obviously has got to account for Chris Jones, but the Chiefs threaten this right side of the line with 2 blitzers, right? Or not blitzers, right? Karlaftis is on the line, so he's just a rusher, but Bolton is kind of lurking around. He's kind of lurking around the line of scrimmage. What's he going to do? The right tackle has to account for everybody. And then they both drop out. And look what the right tackle's doing as Chris Jones goes against the tight end and just walks right through him. The blitz from the other side, which comes late. Connor obviously sells that he's in coverage out here, and then finally comes late. Again, they have those 2 rushers come through the same gap, and so it takes up it takes up blockers. The running back should have read this out better. That he definitely could have picked up Connor, if he'd anticipated it. But that's where Connor's selling of playing coverage comes in. The running back isn't expecting him necessarily to come. This is Isaiah Spiller, I believe, too. So not necessarily their best pass down back in there to protect. And Chris Jones gets a sack. So shout out Felix too. He comes around the outside. Does come. Get to the back of the pocket. Can help him finish right there. Chris Jones help, but this is all just Chris and Spags. Setting up Chris to succeed. Again, the right tackles obviously. Wanting to block Chris Jones needs to think about Chris Jones, but Spags forces his hand. Like he has to account for George Karlaftis. There might even be a blitzer coming that he has to keep his outside shoulder free for if he's helping on George. But then there's just no one, and he's wasted. And by the time he tries to help the tight end, and that's where backup tackles, come into play too. Obviously, if that was the starting tackle, maybe he doesn't get fooled as much. Maybe he does help on Chris a little quicker. But yeah, that was just the Chiefs defense dominating after that first possession. 8 straight scoreless drives after the 2 scoring drives. So I think we're going to be a defensive team here forward. Caleb, going to be grinding it out, dog fights, and relying on this pass rush to close it out when the Chiefs have a lead. Does that sound good to you?
It sounds fine, man. Every year early on in the season, I think, you see some defensive players, they have like 1 or 2 big games. People go, oh, he should be in the defensive player of the year conversation. Let's see where a lot of those guys are at in 10 weeks. And let's see where Chris Jones is at. 'Cause my guess is he's going to be making that exact same kind of impact. The fact that we've seen the Chiefs put teams in positions when they're blitzing that they have to block Chris Jones with a tight end and they don't even realize what's happening until the play is over is wild. It's insane. Like, if you see Chris Jones, you should be sliding your protection his way no matter what everyone else is showing. But that's just where the magic of Spags, that's where him and Chris Jones are so synced up right now in what they do. Spags says, 5 plays a game, we're going to get you a free rush on the quarterback. They're going to slide you the rest of the time. But on those 5 plays, you're going to go against someone we know you can beat. So hats off to them. It's going to have to be another big season, but defensive line is looking like they're going to only be getting better as this thing goes along.
Yeah, and it doesn't get any easier. The Saints coming in, Alvin Kamara, obviously, one of the better backs in the NFL, 4th in the league in rushing. That rushing attack has been efficient this year, has been good, but they do have injuries on the offensive line we mentioned, but they got weapons on the outside. So, the Chiefs really do need the pass rush to get home, help their coverage, not allow explosive plays because the Saints have produced them. So, yeah, I guess final thoughts here before we get out of here. Feeling good about Monday night? Do you think the Chiefs can, kind of hold down the Saints and win a game?
I think so. The Saints defense is interesting. They've got 6 interceptions. They've only given up 1 passing touchdown all year long. Ooh. They're very good in the red zone, but they are giving up close to 5 yards a carry. So this would be a perfect game for the Chiefs to come out and really pound some 13 personnel, pound some 12 personnel, let Kareem Hunt and P. Ryan carry the rock around a little bit, set up some play action stuff too for the Chiefs. Let's see some more traditional play action stuff. Not everything has to be, just like a little run show and then into a big giant drop to fire something 30 yards downfield. How about we just come out and run a little play action pass and you have Noah Gray sit down 10 yards at the line of scrimmage and just run a curl route. See if it opens up if you have Xavier Worthy running past him. They need to simplify. This isn't what they want it to be. We'll wait and see what happens with Rashee Rice. I'm not quite ready to entertain trade ideas right now. That'll probably come more after this week. We'll see. But just overall, Monday is going to be pretty awesome in Kansas City. Shout out to the Royals who'll be playing their playoff series versus the Yankees and the first pitch there is about an hour before kickoff on Monday night. So this is what it's all about.
Yes, sir. No, blessed time to be a Kansas City sports fan. Golden era for both teams, maybe potentially. One of them just maybe entering it, and it is fun. And yeah, that is why we're doing it tonight. Usually it's about Wednesday night when we do this. But hey, man, we had to celebrate last night. The Royals got the done in Baltimore. Hey, Chiefs know about winning in Baltimore in the playoffs. So got to feel bad. I feel like Houston had a stretch where Kansas City was beating them in multiple sports in important games. Baltimore now, Kansas City just we just ruin people's that's just what we do. We just ruin people's fun. It's fun to be spoiler. So, All right. Well, we'll hopefully spoil the Saints, fun start to the season. Derek Carr's good start to the season. We'll spoil all that on Monday night. Can't wait to break it down next week for you guys. We'll be back. It might be Wednesday or Thursday night just because that Monday night game doesn't give us as much time in the week to get to that film. So we'll let y'all know. Appreciate you joining. Make sure you like the page on YouTube. Make sure you are subscribing, like the video, I should say. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Ron_Kopp at CJ Scoobs. And we'll get out of here on that. 4-0. Let's get to 5-0 before the bye week. We're out.